I came on board in March of this year, and I was tasked with asked to do a couple of things, which is do an evaluation of the department, where we're positioned now, where we need to be positioned in the future. And so with that in mind, I've done a SWOT analysis, asked each member of the organization, each work group, what they believe the strengths, the weaknesses of the organization, what we do well, what we need to improve on, what are opportunities for us to do better, and what are the threats that they see from outside the organization. I've also had a chance to go to numerous, I've lost count of the Crime Watch meetings and public speaking engagements, and I've had a chance to interact with the citizens. So what I'm going to present to you today is a compilation of the things that I've heard from the folks who live here in Mesquite, the folks who work in the police department, and it's a compilation of the 4 captains and 2 assistant chiefs, the command staff getting together, talking about those issues, and this is the direction we believe we need to go. And so as I want to preface the presentation with that. This is from a lot of input inside and outside the organization. And of course, I mentioned in the beginning at the first town hall meeting, the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing. I want to see how we're aligned in the Mesquite Police Department with the task force recommendations. The next slide, please. As well as the goals that you, the City Council, our policy board, has given us, the direction you've given us, where you want us to be. And so we've taken these things into consideration also, so you'll see those in the presentation. Also, the minority community involvement, we were working on some projects. I believe the changes and things we're asking for in the 5-year plan here will give us the opportunities and the time to do these kind of things right here and to move further down the road with engaging the community, particularly the minority community here in Mesquite. Again, our department's mission statement is here. We've all seen that, and we work very diligently, the men and women of the organization, both sworn and non-sworn, to fulfill that mission statement every day. A department snapshot. Of course, we're a full-service police department. We also have been authorized 231 officers. Our current strength as of today is 223 actual boots on the ground, boots in the department, and 85 and a half non-sworn. The half is a part-time position, so it's not. We didn't cut anybody in half. Don't panic, okay? So it's just a part-time position, broken down into 6 divisions that you see there. Thanks. Our proposed budget overall, we're going to be asking for a little more money this year, and I'm going to break that down. Overall, it's about a 4.2% increase from last year. And that's before the credits. You're here, the credits we're looking at, the patrol and traffic credits, reimbursements. Those are reimbursements for grants, the traffic grant, reimbursements for overtime worked, and support of traffic at the Christmas in the park, the traffic at the mall, and things like that. $21,000 is the tobacco grant to work tobacco enforcement, underage tobacco enforcement, and then the just over $1 million, there's reimbursement from MISD for the SRO program. The first thing we're going to ask for, we're splitting our budget asking to 2 things: personnel first, and then technology to support those personnel based on a couple of factors. The first here in the budget offer for public safety, we want to ask for 2 canine officers. We haven't had canine officers here in a long time. We've depended on other departments, other cities, Dallas and Garland in particular, to support us with their canine. In fact, there's an Addison officer that lived in the city, and he was a canine officer, and we called him, went and knocked on his door, said, "Hey, can you help us out?" So we have a need for canine officers for building searches, for searching for people that run from us and hide. We believe it will create efficiencies if we have our own. We don't have to wait. When we're looking for somebody, we have to set up a perimeter and wait and lock it down and either wait for somebody to come and search it, or we end up doing an extensive foot search, which takes time. And so we can be tied up, a number of officers, for a long period of time. So we believe getting the canine officer will not only give us that efficiency in searching buildings, clearing buildings and things, and looking for people, they will also be cross-trained in narcotics detection, and they will help us with all the miles of highway we have in and around our city, 30, 80, 635, I-20, there's a lot of narcotics that move in and through and around Mesquite. We don't really have the ability right now, if we stop somebody and suspect something, to search those vehicles. And so a canine would be, a narcotics trained canine would prove invaluable in that regard. I have met with the chief. Yes, sir.
Real quick, so you say 2 officers, you also mean 2 animals?
Yes, sir. So there's 2 canine officers. Yes, sir.
Okay.
The funding would be for 2 officers, and the capital costs that go with that. They have to have a vehicle. The vehicle has to be equipped to carry a dog. There's some safety features built in so the dogs don't overheat in there. Then they would have to have a canine run built at the residence of the officer who's the canine handler. This also covers the cost of training. The purchase of the canine and training, that can be up to $70,000 per dog, per canine, because I've met with the chief in Garland. Garland had a canine program, and it went away, and they're just resurrecting it. And so he's asking his council for 2, and I'm going to ask for 2. He had 4 before, and when we had none, he supported us. So we want to partner with Garland. We want to provide 2, use the same company, and so the dogs are trained exactly the same. We know the credentials of the dogs and the training of the handler, and then we will share calls between each other. So neither agency has to bear the cost of 4 canines, and we get the benefit of having 4 canines at our disposal. We will work together on scheduling and things like that, who's on call and who's going to respond, so that we can help. I've spoken personally to Chief Bates in Garland, and he's agreed to that. And so if we could fund this, it would help us and help them, and we could form a partnership there. Much like we have with our radio system, our P25 radio system, we've formed a partnership with Garland around Rowlett and Saxe. So we believe the way to go to get the most bang for the buck is to share resources and to share the call-outs and things that will result from that.
Chief, would that be in addition to the 231? Are we adding?
Yes, sir, because I want to add 2 officers to backfill those so we don't deplete patrol. These officers will be assigned to patrol, but they won't be taking typical patrol calls. They'll be taking search calls and canine calls and narcotics detection calls. So we want to backfill those 2 positions with 2 additional patrol officers. The same with the SRO position. MISD has put in their budget last year to add an SRO position at the Mesquite Academy. They've been paying for that as an off-duty job and the reimbursement through this last school year, through the spring semester anyway. And so we would like to sign one there, and they'll reimburse us half of that cost to us. So we would also want to backfill that position of patrol. So we'll be asking for a total of 3 additional patrol officers, 2 additional officers to be assigned to patrol to fulfill these two budget requests. Those are the sworn requests we're going to have. I've been asked and directed to look at the use of non-sworn employees to create some efficiencies in the organization, and that's what this budget request will include also. I want to request 2 crime analysts. The crime analysts would one would be assigned to patrol, one would be assigned to the CID, the Criminal Investigations Division, and they would be able to drill down into our data, the reports that are made, the offenses that we've recorded being committed, and they will develop intelligence information that can be handed to patrol officers each and every day. Mesquite has used the method before, but I believe what I've seen so far would classify as information. There's a difference between information and intelligence. Information is good to know. This happened. It's there. Intelligence is something we can drill down to and give the officer a workable piece of information that they can go out and look for someone. I want to drill down into geographic areas of the city. I want to know the day of the week, the time of day that offenses occur, and I want to be able to hand that information down to officers. I want to be able to give them specific information on suspects and vehicles and things, and that does happen now. I just think we can do a much better job at it if we have 2 people. That's their entire job to do that, to comb through that data every day. And I don't think they have to have a badge and a gun to do that. I think we can do that with non-sworn employees. That function is currently being performed by sworn law enforcement officers. We could then direct those officers to enforcement or investigative activities if we had these 2 civilians to do that job. Also, 2 public safety officers, 2 additional public safety officers. Currently, we have 2, and they work the day shift. They move our decoy cars around the city. They monitor our VARDA alarm systems, take them out to the businesses that use those. And if you don't know what a VARDA alarm is, it's a system that we can deploy to businesses. They can request it. We put it there, and the business manager or an employee can wear a device that if they get robbed, they can just alert it. They don't have to call 911. It goes directly to our system. It's broadcast over the radio, and it enhances and improves our response time. It cuts our response time down significantly because it's announced over the radio and everybody hears it. You don't have to go to a call taker, a 911 call taker, to dispatch and then go out. So it's a direct line for a business that might be in distress, and so they might be being robbed. So we believe that system is valuable. These folks are the ones who go out and deploy those and check the system to make sure the batteries are working and the units are functioning, all that. So they perform a very vital function. Over time, I want to grow that function. I want them to deploy our Skywatch towers every day. I want to expand our bait car program. Our bait car program is where we put a vehicle like a pickup truck or something with some property in the back in a high crime area and has cameras that's wired up and wait for somebody to come steal it. And when they do, we arrest them. And I don't think you need a police officer to deploy those. I think anybody can go out and put those out. Now, obviously, the police will have to respond when we have an activation, and they'll have to investigate and file the case. But currently, our badge-carrying, gun-toting officers are deploying those things, doing everything with that program, and I think we better serve with these two additional PSOs. And I want to have these two work at night, because currently the 2-1 days do a great job, but that they work days. I want somebody to do that at night to deploy those vehicles, because through the analysis, the crime analysis and things that we're going to see, I don't believe that the need to deploy them in the daytime are the same locations we need to deploy them at nighttime. We need to be able to move them, and we have no ability to do that right now unless a sworn officer goes out and moves them. And I believe we're better served, create efficiencies, if we use the public service officers for that. Long term, over the next 3 to 5 years, I want to expand their duties to even include some traffic control. I think we can use them to help us on the freeway accidents, for example. We could put them in a pickup truck with some flares and some cones in the back, and we have a major accident that normally ties up 4 or 5 mark squads with officers in each one. We could have these folks go out, set up the cones, direct the traffic, and the officers could just work the accident. And we reduce the number of sworn officers we tie up. And we have a lot of freeways. Anytime we have an accident, it's going to take 3, 4, sometimes 5 officers to work that. So again, I believe we can create efficiencies now and going forward if we can make better use of the public safety officers. And one of the other things I want us to be able to do or consider is to get a civilian dispatch manager. Currently, we have a lieutenant who gets promoted. Usually, it's the rookie lieutenant gets assigned to dispatch, and they spend some time there. They rotate through there or the jail. That's where they go. And it's a manager-level position that oversees that and a couple of other operations. But the technology and communications and dispatch changes so quickly. Every 2 to 3 years, there's changeover. I believe we'd be better served having a civilian manager who's dedicated solely to the function of managing that operation and keeping on top of the technology and the best practices. There's a national board app code, the standards they could get plugged into, and they could keep us current on that. I think they do a better job. And they don't rotate out every 2 or 3 years. That would be their job, and they know that would be their job. And it provides a career path. During the SWOT analysis, the non-sworn employees of the organization complained to me almost to a person is that you either hire in and be a detention officer, you hire in to be a dispatcher, and that's pretty much your career right there. Now we have dispatch supervisors. This would give a dispatch manager position, so they have something to aspire to work towards. The PSO position, it will be a little different class. It'll be a different classification, a little more money than the detention officers. They could work their way to that position. Later on in subsequent years, I want to ask for 2 civilian crime scene specialists that will just go out and take fingerprints and take pictures on property crimes, that you don't have to have a badge and a gun to do that. And then that gives them another position they can work towards. While those aren't supervisory positions, it gives them the ability to move through the organization, learn different skills, and keep the passion alive for their job over the 20 or 25-year career, because they have things they can do differently, different activities. I also want us to consider contracting out, outsourcing the polygraphs for non-sworn employees. Currently, our detectives in the Criminal Investigation Division that are polygraph certified, they do those. So they do about 600 a year right now. And so when you look at that, that's not just 600 hours. They have to do some pre-work to work up that polygraph to know the questions they're going to ask. They have to read the background, and then they have to do some work afterwards to produce a report. So you're talking about 1,400 hours taken away from criminal investigative work just to do a polygraph for somebody who's applying for a job. And so it's a vital function. It's necessary, but I believe we can do that without bogging down those officers, detectives with that. So I think there's a better way, a more efficient way, and it creates the efficiency and gives them a chance to focus on their cases rather than taking a 2-hour time out of their day to go do one of those things. And so this is year one of the 5-year personnel plan, and you can see the total cost, their projected cost. The next slide, please. When you look at 17, 18, I want to consider right now two police officers and those 2 crime scene specialists I mentioned, 2 civilians. We would keep the police officers in that unit so they can work the shootings and the sexual assaults and robberies and the felony crimes. But for a lot of the things that the 2 crime scene specialists here would do, it's a delayed burglary, the bad guy's gone, people come home from work, doors being kicked in, or they come outside from the movie theater, shopping, or wherever, and their car's been broken into. Somebody can come over, take fingerprints. That'll be their job, and they'll take pictures, and we still record the data, and you don't have an officer sitting there tied up. Currently, police officers do that duty. Some are, more skilled at it than others, so I believe we get a better product in the end if we have those 2 folks doing it. 18, 19, I want to consider adding 2 more police officers on top of that. And then the last year, a civilian computer lab technician. This is the 4th year. Computer lab technician. Currently, we have 2 detectives assigned to our computer forensics operation, and that technology also it changes. It changes constantly. And every investigation we get involved in, they have cell phones that need to be downloaded. They have tablets. They have laptops. People don't just keep a ledger with a spiral notebook or a big chief pad and a pen anymore. Everything's on phones and has to be downloaded. And we need the people with a skill to do that. Our detectives do a great job, but they promote, they transfer, so we invest money in training them and buying the equipment, and if they want to go to another division or another section, they transfer out. This person, that would be their job, to work in the computer forensics, and we know I think it'll give us some stability in that operation. And it reduces the number of detectives we have to have assigned from 2 to 1. And so we have the civilian there, so we can free up that detective to go do other things. Next one, please. In the last year, a civilian planning and research specialist. I need somebody in the office who can stay on top of the research that comes out every day. There's articles published, there's white papers published, there's all kinds of research put out by universities and different groups. And I need somebody who can cull through that and bring the things to our attention that we need to see. And they also this position also monitors our grants, keeps us abreast of that, handles our grant applications, and handles the grant reporting and things like that. So the police officer does this now, and we can have a civilian doing that in the future. Budget Officer 2 is a technology piece. Again, you mentioned in your strategic goals, use technology to improve public safety. The President's Task Force also, the number 3 on that task force report was social media and technology. And so this is part of it here. The first thing there, the deploy software, that's already been funded. You've approved that in a seizure amendment. I just want to make sure we talk about that quickly. I think we don't do a very good job with our deploying our resources based on our workload right now. And this deploy software is a software that we'll upload into our computer-aided dispatch system. It will capture 4 years of our call data. This software is programmed with algorithms to analyze that data, to look at the distribution of the personnel, manpower versus that workload. It gives a weighted value to each of those calls. So a loud music call wouldn't have as much value as an accident call on the freeway because it would recognize that it takes more people and more time to work the accident than it does the loud music call. And so it gives us a distribution, it makes a recommended distribution of resources, of manpower versus that allocation. And this is a software that's been used by departments all across the country. We just tell it, it captures the data. We tell it we have X number of officers and we want them in 10-hour shifts, and it tells us how they should be, what the start time and end time of those shifts be, what overlap there should be, all those kind of things. And so to give us coverage during shift changeovers and things like that. It's an amazing piece of software. You've already approved that in a seizure amendment, so I just want to make sure you know about that. ATAC raids, I don't know what that acronym means, but what that software is, it's a predictive and analytic software for the crime analysis. This is the software those crime analysts, if we hired them, would be using to break down the data that we have into workable pieces of information. It also gives us an enhanced crime mapping ability. So it would give us the ability to find out from the probation department who's on probation, who's getting paroled. Every month in Dallas County, 600 people get paroled from the state prison and come back to Dallas County. They all don't come to Mesquite, but they're here in Dallas County. And we know criminals are mobile. About half the people we arrest on an annual basis or so are not from Mesquite. And so it's good to know where those folks are, and it gives us the ability to know where they live, where they got released from. That'll give us the ability to map that. Registered sex offenders, all those kind of things. It'll give us the ability to layer the maps so we can see pockets of concentrations of folks that maybe we need to keep an eye on, pay attention to a little bit there. So it creates an efficiency for us, I believe. The online reporting software, I'll go to the top of the next line there. A lot of folks are very plugged into technology. They don't necessarily want to wait at home or wait wherever so they can make a report. This software would allow somebody who chooses to do so to just go online and make a report. If they cutting their grass and lift the lawnmower out and they go inside to get a glass of lemonade and come out and it's gone, well, they could call us, call 911 and wait to do a report, or do a report over the phone, or they could just go in, log in, and do their report. Again, it creates, I don't know how many people would choose that option, but it gives them an option and an opportunity to create an efficiency for us that we don't have to tie somebody up making a report, and the information still gets logged in and still gets reported to us, and we could capture that, and we would know it happened. We would get it assigned to a detective, and it would be investigated just like everything else. But they could do the reporting themselves if they chose to. The mobile LPR system, now this is one that's going to be important going forward for us strategy-wise. An LPR is a license plate reader. I want to purchase one, and we can purchase this one with there's grant money we could apply for anyway. But this one is on a wagon. It's mobile. It's like one of those speed trailers that you've seen around the city. It says speed limit is 35. You're doing 40 or whatever. But there's a camera on there that captures the license plate of every vehicle that passes it, and so it's an intelligence database. And so we can deploy that into high crime areas. If we're having one in a neighborhood that's being victimized, we could put this out on the road to capture all the license plates that goes by it. And when we start looking and investigating crimes, we can go back and cull to that data and see if we have the license plate. And on the build out, I want to build those out and put them on every major intersection in the city over the next 5 years. But we'll start with this mobile one that we can move around to the hot spots. A mobile monitoring system. What that mobile monitoring system means is it's going to be, there'll be 5 of them. Cameras that we can move around the city. There'll be a box that says Mesquite Police. It's not going to be anything sneaky. Everybody's going to know it's there. And we'll use cameras in public spaces, major points of ingress or egress to a neighborhood or a community that's having problems. We can put them up on a power pole or some power source, and we can monitor the traffic coming in and out of there. Again, for investigative purposes, we find out there's a red truck involved in a burglary, we just go back through there and find the truck, and it helps us narrow it down. Couple that with the license plate technology, and we can have a pretty good network across the city of without tying up a police officer on every corner in every neighborhood. We could gather the information we would need for follow-up investigations and to close out crimes. And of course, the last piece of the technology plan is Spillman. You've already approved that. It's already been funded. That is our new field-based reporting and records management system and our computer-assisted dispatch system. I'm very excited about this. I've been to a couple of meetings. I've been in police work since 1988. I've been a police officer 28 years, and this is the first time I'm going to work in a place where all these 3 systems are integrated: the field-based reporting, the CAD, and the RMS system. And normally, being a government entity, we would always go with a low bidder. We would bid each one of those out separately, and they never really interfaced and never worked together. So we lost data. We lost opportunities there, and we had to go back and sort through a bunch of mess. One system, one vendor. If we have a problem, there's one person we call, not 3. They can't point the finger at each other. There's one guy. So I'm excited about this. 17, 18. again, I mentioned with the LPR and the mobile monitoring system, I would like to start phase one of a citywide monitoring system, putting them on every major intersection. We could link up with some of the infrastructure that's already in place. For example, the traffic cameras. Their infrastructure and their network won't support everything that we do. There'll be some opportunities. I think we could link up with them. The network would support it, and we could put them on major intersections because they have the traffic cameras there, but they don't monitor them. We could get them monitored. I think we could get them monitored with our light duty officers. There's almost always someone who's injured who can't work the street. This would be good duty for them. Some of our officers who are expectant mothers, we can use them in this. When they're pregnant, they can work inside and they could do this. They can monitor these. I believe we would get a cadre of our CPA or Citizens Police Academy volunteers who would come in and help us monitor those cameras. But I want to build out phase one here, starting in the retail district in particular, around town East Mall and the whole retail district there, to put cameras and license plate readers in every point of ingress and egress to the mall area, so we would know the retail district. We could create really a safe zone when you shop. We could publicize that. You're on camera. Everybody, and it's a public space. It's not an invasion of privacy. You're out in public. You have no expectation of privacy. You shouldn't anyway. So I believe it'll be a big deal for us there to help create an environment of safety there. Again, major ingress and major intersections. So next slide, please. Continue building that out. And each year we will monitor the success, and we will look at our crime data to see which intersections or which neighborhoods we need to cover as we roll it out. So the phase one, phase two, phase three, that's not tied to any piece of geography except for the retail district. I think we should start there first. Everything else will be built out by the need, by the crime reports that we get generated in those areas, and build all the way out to all the major intersections, like it says there. The capital budget budget offers replacements for 7 ARF patrol vehicles, the 8 LiDAR, those LiDARs or laser radars or long-range radars. Want to replace those. There's a replacement schedule, and there's 8 due to be replaced. CID, that's unmarked vehicles. That's our detective cars. 3 of those are scheduled to be replaced. Technical services, 1 vehicle scheduled to be replaced. I believe that's a van. And then the take-home car program, this is one that I want us to consider, that for our criminal investigations unit, the detectives drive unmarked vehicles, and when they're on call, they get called back routinely. 2 or 3 times a week they'll be on call. They get on call a week at a time. They get called back in to investigate crimes, to do search warrants, things like that. This would give them the ability to have a vehicle with them and come back. Our tactical team also, they get called in, and when they get a call out, they have to drive wherever they live, do the station, get in a car, and then go out to the scene. This gives them the ability to respond directly to a scene if they need to. Then these 2 things on the other, I think I'll start with the narcotics lease vehicles. We're working on that now with legal. I would like to use some of our seizure funds to lease vehicles that allow the narcotics division to turn them in every 6 months so their vehicles don't get burned. They do important work, dangerous work, undercover work, and I think it's important for their safety to be able to change out those vehicles and not be seen in the same vehicle a lot. So the next one is something I've seen from the inside, leadership development training. I'd like to use $60,000 of our seizure fund to do that. I've seen here now in the last 5 months the talent and the passion and the commitment of the men and women of the Mesquite Police Department. What I see that they don't have is a lot of outside training, exposure to outside training, and this would give us the ability to do that. Chief Aborg was here, just went up to the Senior Management Institute for Police in Boston. He spent 3 weeks up there. I consider that, as well as many other police executives, the premier executive strategic management training for law enforcement in the country. And he's the first Mesquite commander to go do that. I want to send all the captains and assistants to that training. It's cutting-edge training. It's taught at Boston University. The professors from the JFK School of Government at Harvard come over and they teach the classes. Johns Hopkins, you're talking about leading academians from all over the country come and teach the curriculum there. And you're exposed to ideas and programs and things that you just don't see, in our little world here. So I think it proved to me invaluable. It helped shape my leadership and management track for my career. I'd like to see that but also at the lieutenant level and the sergeant level, the frontline supervisor. They get to go to a 3-week school here, and that's their state-mandated class, but there's other training opportunities for the sergeants to learn and expand their career. Lieutenants in particular, they wait for the LEMIT, the Law Enforcement Management Institute of Texas down in Sam Houston State. It's a free class, but it takes a while to get in. It takes every 2 to 3 years we can rotate somebody in. The FBI National Academy is at Quantico, Virginia. We get one person in there about every 5 or 6 years. In the last 30 years, we've had 5 people go through that because we're competing for slots with all the people in the North Texas region. The FBI office gets to send 2 people per slot per quarter, so 8 people a year, but that's Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington, Irving, Grand Prairie, all the departments here competing for those slots. So the big cities get them first, and then even the entering suburbs, the bigger departments, we get slots, but not very often. But there's other training available for lieutenant level that I think we could send them to, and I want to use this money to do that. I want to develop leaders at every level. Leadership is the key, and I believe that we have the talent, we have the personnel, we have the commitment and the passion. I want to make sure that we get them the training that they need, the cutting-edge training. And in summary here, we believe these personnel requests will make the most efficient use of our staffing to provide the highest possible level of service to our community, and the increase of use of technology in reducing crime. At the end of all this 5-year plan, we will ask her to add 7 sworn positions, made these technological advancements, and increase the duties of non-sworn positions to allow for those hours to go to patrol or to investigative purposes. We believe we will create 52,000 hours of efficiency. Conservative, we believe that. Look at what we have right now. And so every 2,080 hours is an FTE. So we think we potentially create 25 FTEs in efficiencies over that 5 years with the technology and with the enhancements we're asking for and expanding the role of the non-sworn members of the department. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Very good, Chief. We have any questions at this time? Mr. Mosher?
I don't have any questions. I just want to make some comments, and I really appreciate in terms of you coming on board in March and being in a position to present us with a 5-year plan as comprehensive as it is very impressive. And I really appreciate the time that you did and the passion with which you did it, because you could tell from the presentation itself that you invested a lot of time in it. And I also want to commend you. It's fun to talk about all the cool toys and all the law enforcement stuff, and for us to think about that and also think about the sworn officers. But what I really appreciate about what you did is the leadership development component. I actually wonder if the $60,000 you allocated for that might be a bit light, but I'll let you be the judge of that. But to me, that is very impressive and speaks mountains of the culture that you want to build and foster in the department. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your commitment to that.
Yes, sir.
First.
Morning, Chief. I want to say I'm very excited, and I know we visited some last week, but I'm very excited about the technology. I'm excited about the opportunities to take some time or take some things off our police officers' plates to allow them to do more policing by the civilianization that you talked about. So I'm very impressed with that. We're excited. Just a few questions. Number one, given that it's just tougher to be a police officer these days, what are some of your thoughts for our long-term retention of officers?
I think that we're well positioned. We're better positioned than other departments as far as that, because I think our pay is very competitive. I think right now we have cutting edge technology and equipment. We have stuff here that I didn't have in my old department. A bigger department with a much bigger budget. We have newer vehicles. We have a computer lab. We just have better things. And so I think that with creating the opportunities for them to do things like go to training outside and to do that, I think we will be fine going forward. I think what's happening right now is just more of a function of during the 1982 to 84, they went on, grew the organization, went on a hiring binge, and those folks are coming up to the end of their career. I mean, they're 30 years, 33 years on the department. And so I don't see people leaving here because they're unhappy. The one guy that I've had leave so far, he was from the Houston area, and he got a job down there, and he went back home. He has kids. It was important for his kids to be near their grandparents, and also I don't see that. I haven't seen people leaving the Mesquite Police Department because they're upset, because they're angry, because they're disenfranchised. I think the culture here is good in that people work hard, they stick together, and they take care of each other. I've been very impressed by the quality in the work exhibited by the men and women in this organization, both sworn and non-sworn. Everybody works. I haven't seen a lazy one yet, and I'm not used to that. I'm used to seeing some you have to motivate a little bit. They motivate each other. If you're not pulling on the rope, they'll let you know, hey, buddy, you need to pick up the pace because you're causing me heartache here. So they do a really good job of doing that. I think we're going to be fine, sir. I think we're going to do better going forward about recruiting because we've hired our first 3 now lateral officers, and that's officers that are already certified, that don't have to go to the police academy. They're already licensed peace officers. They come in here. They still have to compete, have to qualify like everybody else, have to take the civil service exam. Rick French and his team have been instrumental in helping us get them through, shepherd them through the process, because it is kind of hard to ask a 5-year, 6-year police officer to come in and go back through everything like they were a rookie again. And some of them find that hard to accept, but they've done an excellent job. 2 just started July 20th that are already certified officers, one from the Sheriff's Department, one from DPD. And so I think we're going to start seeing officers from other agencies come here to work more and more.
I'm very excited. I know you had mentioned recently about that we're expanding our recruiting and even doing some testing at universities and other places, which I think is fantastic. With regards to getting us from 223 to the 231, is there an academy in place right now that would get that number close to there?
That's counting. The 223 is counting the 5 folks in the academy right now. They just started July 20th. And with the university, I didn't mention that in the presentation, but again, Rick French and his staff, I have to tip my hat to them and thank them. They worked on the deal to take the testing off-site and down to the university. I just happened to know the dean of the College of Criminal Justice at Sam Houston, so I was able to make a connection when I was down there because Rick told me about it. I think it's going to be a tremendous opportunity for us to go down and test those kids while they're in school just before they graduate. Test them in October and in April. That's what Rick came up with. I think it's a great idea. And his staff works very, very hard, and they're prepared to go down there, not just to the schools, but to military bases even, and do testing on site for people that are about to get out 2 or 3 months before they get. So they know they have a job to come to. We can start the background and all that stuff. By the time they graduate or by the time they get out of the military, then they should be right ready to be hired. So,
with regards to community policing, you've talked some about the importance of taking some time to build trust with the summer camps and the reading with the kids, which I think is fantastic. Long term, what is your vision for our community policing in terms of officers being in neighborhoods and having relationships with folks and perhaps intelligence gathering, et cetera, that familiar presence of officers that will tone problems down? What's your vision long term?
I think we have to do a better job of instilling community policing as a culture in an organization. Traditionally, police departments have selected people who are good speakers, easy to get along with, and they make them the community relations officer, and they do a great job to the exclusion of everybody else. That's their job, and no one else is involved. I believe the efficiencies we'll create here will give the officers time to go out and stop in the neighborhoods and to talk to folks and to attend some crime watch meetings if we need to get to know folks and answer questions. The officer that's assigned to that geographic area. Over time, over these next 5 years, I would like to move to more of a geographic model of policing to where officers know the area they're going to be assigned to and they work that area. And they do that now with POP, the problem-oriented policing model. But I want everybody to know that and to be part of that, to be connected to it. That's how we increase the trust and having conversation with folks and getting to know them. You don't trust somebody you don't know. So.
My last question is, I'm thrilled that we're looking at the take-home car program. I always worry about our CID guys having to get up at night and come here first to get their car. Do we have any numbers on what the officers would pay themselves?
I think we are trying to track that down. We may have to bring that back to you later today. Jeff, did you?
The cost of the take-home vehicle per employee is just under $2,000 per year.
We had it broken down into the month, the paycheck per paycheck. We'll bring that. We've got a spreadsheet. We'll bring back to y'all later today or first thing in the morning.
And is that number based on some feedback we've had from officers that that's something they could afford, or do we know that by chance?
We've based it on a 25% of the actual cost of use of the vehicle, and then we've set it for a geographic distance outside of the city. If you live in the city, it's free. If you're 5 miles out, it's a cost up to a certain mileage. So we have a spreadsheet that'll break that down.
I've got the cost actually now.
Okay.
It would be on a per pay period cost for most employees, an average of about $85 per pay period for their share. We would have, say, a 90-10 split, so the city pays 90% of it, the employee pays 10%.
Okay.
And again, that's an average.
Sure. No, it's different for area. Okay. Well, I think that we're headed towards a good direction. I appreciate the investment of your time and your officers' time and looking at a vision for down the road. And I appreciate the hard work. Thank you, Chief.
Also, just to comment, I appreciate your presentation as well. I don't know if I missed this or not, but is this the first time for canines to be brought into the department here in Mesquite?
They've had canines before in the past. It's been some years. So, yes, it's been years.
Okay. And I appreciate also comments of the technology advancement, cameras, and also about the safe zones, creating safe zones in the city with cameras. And I know that's going to let our citizens really feel like we're moving forward in this area of public safety. So thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Questions or comments? Mr. Tarpley?
Great job, Chief. Just a couple of questions regarding the lateral hires. Are those officers required to take the civil service exam?
Yes, sir, they are.
So do we base, if we have those, do we base that pretty much solely on their grade on that exam as to whether we're going to offer it to them?
They're processed. They have to pass the test, and they're processed in order of their test score per Chapter 143. And then when I mean processed, their background is picked up based on their test score. Just because they're a certified officer, if somebody who's in college now, a brand new kid, outscores them on the test, that person is going to get processed first, because that's what the civil service rules require us to do.
Okay. Regarding the CID take-home cars, do those cars have like crime scene kits in them and things like that, or what's in those cars?
They have a police radio, so they can communicate. There's no lights, no sirens. They may have some equipment in it. It'd be personal issued equipment if they had equipment in it. The tactical team is the one that has a significant amount of equipment in the vehicles.
I guess my question is, especially for the officers that don't live in Mesquite, would we be better off paying them a mileage reimbursement for the use of their personal car, or give them a monthly car allowance? I understand the need for them to be able to go directly from home to a crime scene if they get called out in the middle of the night or something like that. But financially, would the city be better off to pay them a car allowance versus or some type of reimbursement allowance versus actually sending them home with a city car?
The actual cost, I have to look at the numbers, sir. I'm not sure. I know from the officer's perspective, they won't want to take their personal car to a crime scene, especially if they might end up having to arrest somebody and put them in the car and transport them back. They'd want to do all that in a city car.
Okay,
So,
I didn't know they would actually have to.
on occasion, they won't have every time, but they could. If they go to a scene, if a patrol officer is on the scene and doesn't know exactly what they're going to do, they'll notify CID. CID can come in, get a car, go out to the scene, hear the story, and determine what they're going to do. Oftentimes, the officers will already arrest them and just make the decision to arrest and have the prisoner arrested. But that's from an officer perspective. I wouldn't want to take my personal vehicle, no matter what you reimburse me or what my monthly car allowance is, to a scene and put somebody in it and transport them. Because then my personal insurance is on the hook if I had an accident or somebody runs a red light and hits me, and I have this prisoner in the car with me. From a liability perspective, it'd be better if they have a city vehicle for them anyway. So.
Okay. Just a thought that I had.
Yes, sir.
And then the other question, I guess, had to do with our academy students. Are we maintaining a high percentage of retention from those academy graduates? Are they or academy recruits, I should say? Are they working their way all the way through the end of the academies and staying on?
The first three classes. Well, any academy class, you can expect to lose 10 to 15% of the people that you hire. That's just consistent across whatever police department. Then we have once you get into field training, you can expect to lose another 5 to 10%. So you're gonna lose 15 to 25% depending on the agency and the people that you get. That's what everybody experiences. Everybody that I've seen so far, police departments, because they can watch the shows on TV, that can study it in college criminology, until you get in the car and you go out there and you realize that people have guns and you could get hurt. It's a real, they just don't accept that danger until they're in it. So a lot of people don't figure out that it's not for them until much later. Our first three classes, we've done very, very well. We were less than that. This last class, we started with 16 and we have 9 left. So it was a little high, but we lost 2 right off the bat. So really, we were working with 14. 2 of the people we hired, they got in the academy and decided that it wasn't for them. And within the first 3 weeks, they were both gone. So the other 14, we've lost 5. We lost 1 last week, and it was good. It was good for us that he made that decision, because we were going to have to make a decision on his behalf. So.
Well, do our training officers, do they see that, in the first couple of weeks or month or so, that they're not going to cut it? Do they recommend that they just be cut from the classes?
Well, what I'm trying to encourage them to do is very few people are just that I've ever seen, including myself. If they put that standard on me, they'd have probably cut me 28 years ago. I was the run of the group, and so I was the run of the litter. But I want them to look for people that are trainable, that have a heart and a passion for the job. You can teach the skills of searching a building, of shooting a weapon, of driving a car. You can't teach people heart. They have to have it. They have to have character. They have to have a passion for the work. My instruction to them is, if they have those things, the heart, the passion, and the character, then we need to teach them the other stuff. We need to take whatever time we need to teach them those things. And so I don't tell them to, wash them out. I tell them to try to teach them the job, especially if they have the heart. And some that we lose, they have the heart for the job, I believe, or they have the passion for the job. They get out there and realize that we lost 1 or 2 in field training, that they see somebody with a gun, or they realize what could happen to them, and they're, I can't do this. It's not for me. So, and that's okay. It doesn't mean they're bad people. Just it took them a little while to realize this wasn't for them. That's all.
Mr. Tarpley, I'll just jump in a little bit. What I've asked Chief Cato to do is to try to get a number that we can bring into the academy that accounts for the attrition rate that we're experiencing. And so we're not going to limit ourselves to a certain number, 5 above sworn, just to bring them into the academy. We're going to bring in more, and then if we just luck out and we have to hire more officers, we'll take that for that hit for that time period. So our intent is to get as many people into the academy as we can that are going to be on the street.
Yeah, and I know that's a tough job in itself, just trying to find recruits that meet our qualifications. And I certainly don't want to lower our qualifications because I think we have some a great department, and a lot of that has to do with the quality of the recruiting that we've done over the years and our qualification requirements. But yeah, I know what you mean about the heart. I have to have a lot of heart for my job too. So, when I have to tell somebody, they owe an extra $100,000 in tax, it's pretty dangerous in my office too. So, anyway, thank you for all that you've done. Thank you.
Yes,
My profession's full of heartless people, so it's pretty easy. But one of the things I was curious about in terms of the bringing in more recruits, even if we're above the sworn number, that doesn't put us in a difficult position in later years if we had to reduce that number in terms of the civil service requirements, would it? Because what I'd hate to do is push that number up and then from a civil service standpoint not being able to just let attrition bring that number back to where we are.
Based on the gaps where we're at now, I don't see it being a problem immediately, and we would scale back as we got closer to that full staffing.
Okay.
But we'll keep in mind any impacts. That's what I've asked Chief to look at to make sure we don't step on any landmines.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're very mindful of that. So thank you.
And some of the budget requests for additional years has other patrol officers, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks for your presentation. Thanks for the 5-year vision. Can you compare our lateral transfer program to Fort Worth? I keep reading media reports about them poaching, a ton of DPD officers. And are they going through the same kind of process that our transfers are?
Well, I can't speak to their process. I can tell you the major difference between Fort Worth and us is we're a Chapter 143 city and Fort Worth isn't. Fort Worth has its own civil service, so they still have to pass the civil service exam. But I know some officers who left and went to Fort Worth, and what Fort Worth is offering them is after 1 year they're eligible for transfer and eligible for promotion exams and all those kind of things. 143 dictates to us when somebody's eligible for promotion, examination, when they're eligible for transfer, when they're eligible to move about. I mean, we pay more than Fort Worth. Fort Worth starts me at 52. Our starting pay is 57,000. Our pay is very, very competitive, in my opinion, looking at the other cities. And so Fort Worth also is given some other incentives based on how when they come in, their level of experience from before. So that's something we're working with HR to look at, because even civil service will allow us, 143 will allow us to use, if they're certified at the intermediate level or the advanced level or something like that, that we can bring them in at a little more pay, 1-2 year pay or something. That's what we're trying to explore right now, to be more competitive with the Fort Worth. Grand Prairie's taken a lot of folks in also from the others. And my pool that I want to choose from, I don't necessarily think we're going to come from Dallas.
Sure.
I think when I look at the smaller cities around here, of DeSoto, Waxahachie, Duncanville, Cedar Hill, we offer one of our laterals is from Lateral. He was a 6-year officer. A great young man. He's doing a fine job, but there's 40 officers in that department. And the opportunities are very limited, so he came here, he got a raise, and there's more opportunities. And so you look at somebody from the sheriff's department. He was certified, but he was working in the jail, basically doing the same job he did before he made deputy. Now he's going to have a chance to work the streets and do those. So I think that's our real opportunity, is to go ahead and capture some of those folks from smaller organizations that are certified and experienced, and they want more opportunities, and we can offer that.
So how does the process work right now? They take the civil service exam, they go through a mini Mesquite Academy, how we do our way?
Well, they have to go, to get hired, they have to go through everything that an incumbent has, a regular incumbent has. So they have to take the civil service exam, there has to be a background check, a polygraph, drug test, you name it, everything is the same. When they come in, when we hired them July 20th, the two certified officers, the lateral guys, they're having a 2-week classroom orientation to Mesquite, our policies, our procedures, and they're going to be put directly into field training. And the field training is normally 17 weeks. Our lateral, the last guy did it in 12. As they show proficiency, they pass them and move them to the next phase. And so they potentially cut the 23 of the 25 weeks out of the academy and then 5 weeks of the 17 weeks out of field training, so they're on the street much quicker.
Right.
And so,
that sounds great. So how are you going to balance, I guess, recruiting brand new officers, the academy, with how expansive of a transfer program you're looking to have?
Well, I think 143 is going to actually help me in that regard because everybody has to take the civil service exam. And so no matter who they are or how many years experience they have, that's going to be our winnowing net because we had one lateral applicant who didn't pass civil service. I mean, so, and then one who scored so low that he was never going to get down to him and be considered. So it's going to help us balance. And you're right, sir. That's a great point I did mention is I do want to balance bringing in experienced officers with bringing in new blood to the organization too. There has to be a balance there, and I want to work with HR and our recruiting folks to try to maintain that balance.
Thank you. I'm excited about your vision.
I appreciate the fact that you're interested in recruiting at the universities, and that's what I do for the school district. I go to the universities and recruit teachers, but one of my strong selling points, I think, with recruiting teachers, I always tell them, and most people I talk to are young gals. 78% of the people going into teaching are female, and they're concerned about safety. So I'm proud that I'm able to tell them what a good police department we have and low crime rate and, safety here. And I think a good example of that, when I was still a principal, I was told they were going to add 6th grade to Agnew Middle School. So Bill, go out and hire 6 6th grade teachers, which are hard to hire because elementary people want little ones. They don't want the 6th grade. They want the little ones, But I was at the Arlington Convention Center where 2,000 to 3,000 people show up looking for jobs, and there were 6 girls from Oklahoma. They were down there with one of them's dad, and they were going from table to table, different school districts, and I talked to them, and they're wanting to come here because Texas pays better than Oklahoma, And I noticed that after they would go to a table, they would go back and talk to the dad. So I went over after they left him and talked to the dad, and my big selling point with Dad was our public safety, our good police department, And Mesquite's a good place to live. I hired all 6 of them. And I know I did because Daddy said you need to go work in Mesquite. So keep us on that track.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, well, just one more thing I want to mention, just
Sure.
a couple observations. Here a while back, I was doing a ride-out with a sergeant on a Friday night, and I was really encouraged. A couple different incidents. One, I observed a situation where several officers had to be involved, and I watched the sergeant as he first made sure everything was being done properly, and et cetera. But then once he determined that, I noticed him quickly trying to disperse those guys and get it back out on the streets again. And then there was a major accident that night. And, of course, after making sure that, safety, et cetera, had been taken care of again, I noticed him a sense of urgency to get those guys back on the street because he was nervous about, calls being held up, et cetera. So I was very encouraged by that sense of urgency to get guys back on the street. The other thing is I drove around quite a bit one of the nights after the tragedy in Dallas and saw a very strong police presence, saw just a sense of calmness that we needed in that time where our citizens were kind of nervous and concerned. So I applaud the leadership that was provided those days after what happened in Dallas. So appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Chief, you've heard a lot of good positive comments, and I concur. It is kind of amazing the type of job that you guys have to do. I say this a lot. I can't imagine the world where I have to get up every day and put a gun on and go to my job. It's just a different type of lifestyle. But for our citizens and all, I think it's great to know that we've got men and women, to your point, that have the heart not only for protecting us, but have a heart for each other. The one thing I would tell you is that everywhere I've been, inside and outside this city, I don't think I've heard one negative comment about the Mesquite Police Department in the 12 years I've been in public service. And I just think that's a testament to the men and women in the department, and we know we're going to continue that. And like everybody else, I think your proposals are outstanding, and we're kind of excited about getting them started.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And if I may, I'll be remiss if I didn't say a couple of things to the body that's before us here. I thank you for the opportunity that you provided me to come here to work. I know the process was highly competitive, and I know the Mesquite Police Department is highly regarded because of the leadership that was in place here. And if the passion that the men and women exhibit in their jobs. And I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity. I want to thank Chief Piccioni and Chief Fayborg, because they were instrumental in this, in putting this together. I mean, they did the lion's share of it. I'm not going to sit here and say otherwise. Those men are good men. They had a choice to support me or the new guy, or they had a choice to do something different. They've been nothing but absolute, friends. I mean, they've extended everything to me that I've needed, and then some. And then the staff, all the staff, but particularly Dee Richter, she put together the PowerPoint, and the other ladies in the office. They do a tremendous job, and I want to thank them publicly for all the work that they've done, helping me in this transition and get oriented here to Mesquite. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.